is your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso on S3, and this morning we've been focusing on those last few months. I'm talking about 105 days until Christmas, where you can still achieve those things you've set out at the beginning of the year within time. Now, joining us is seasoned life coaches Kirsty Melmaid and Anarine Rousseau to help us explore the idea that it's never too late to make that big change in your life that you've been dreaming about. Good morning.
Good morning, ladies. I'm sorry, this is going to only reinforce how little of the year you guys have left as well. So I think we're all in the same boat. It doesn't matter what job you hold, what position of society, time waits for no person at all. And we're feeling it. Anarine, I'm going to start with you as a fresh face. So thank you so much for joining the panel.
Thank you.
I speak from a slightly older perspective now, where the pressures are a little bit bigger. The machine that you've got to engage and move those cogs are a little bit bigger. Is it true that you really can have a fresh start, even with all these pressures that society puts on you? Now at the end of the year, we're exhausted, we're struggling to find that energy. Can I achieve a fresh start within my mind right now?
Absolutely. In my opinion, absolutely, for sure. You might need to change your mindset. You might need to look at it from a different point of view. But there's definitely possibilities to change where you're at.
I love that.
Well, can we get an example? Maybe, Kirsty, you can shed some light on someone that maybe felt like, oh, it's too late for me, but then they actually changed that mindset and they were able to you know, change their life.
Sure. I mean, there's loads of famous examples, but I'd like to use an everyday example. One of my clients, so she was married to this man who didn't treat her very well. He was quite a toxic individual for her entire adult life, from the age of 18 until 70 when he passed away.
Wow.
Now, you would imagine, after an entire lifetime, you're like...
She'd written herself off, yeah.
Exactly. Not this lady. She signed up for one of my group programs. She came to every single session. She devoured every piece of material. And more importantly, she actually put it all into practice. And after about a year and a half, she found her inner peace again, she found her confidence, she found her joy, and she's actually now in her early 70s moving overseas to go start life fresh with her daughter.
Yeah,
Which is so brave.
Yes. That is fantastic. So whoever you are, well, because you will be unnamed, congratulations. That is absolutely amazing. When you talk about, Anarine, this shift in mindset, I always use the thing of looking through a different lens. And it's amazing how once you look at something differently, your mindset can shift. It can be very difficult when the whole world is preaching the self-help message. You've got podcasts, you've got memes, you've got people supposedly living their best life every day. It seems so unrealistic and out of touch when I need to change something that's so big and fundamental in my life. But it does start with one step. What does that step look like?
The step is actually to break the step down. Interesting, right?
Wow, okay.
Because you feel as if you have this big jungle that you need to sort through.
Yeah.
So filter down to the step that needs to change and then find a smaller step.
Oh, wow.
Because that creates the action, and the action then creates the change.
We're not climbing the mountain, we're stepping out of the tent. We're stepping out of the tent, getting a cup of coffee on the fire. I love that.
And then with that cup of coffee, stop and be like, okay, now what? I'm going to break the step down. I'm having a cup of coffee and I'm breaking the step down.
I love that. Take the pressure off.
I love that, where I think a lot of us have, you know what, it's not too late and I'm going to now break the step down. But the people around you constantly said, no, but you can't do that. Like, how can we encourage the person that's in that environment where they are so ready to make these internal changes that will eventually manifest to the outside world, but the outside world keeps boxing them back to that step? How can we encourage those individuals to keep going?
So, I mean,
it's a tough one.
That's
It's a loaded question.
You've got to wear that thick skin and you've got to maintain that belief that this thing that I'm going for is possible, this change that I'm going for is possible. You have to hold on to that. And you can say to people, you can put down boundaries and say, you know, I know that you're concerned and I know you have my best interests at heart, but how you could really support me right now is to believe in me and to ask me, what is your next step? You know, exactly.
How can I help?
How can I help? Exactly. And to communicate to people and say, like, I know you're trying to help, but it's actually not helping. It's bringing me down, and I don't need that right now. I need support.
I love that. And that'll also speak to a conscious shift within your own head of taking ownership of that. Don't wait for someone else to come and say, okay, you're ready to change, you're ready to grow, you're ready to embrace your best self. You have to believe it, and then it will manifest. That's how these things work. We are here to manifest. I know we've only got 101 days. Zoe keeps reminding us until Christmas. 105, thank you. Ooh, I stole 4 days from you. But we are all feeling that pressure of making the most out of the rest of this year, and we're going to help to make that shift, that step down in our minds when we continue this discussion.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back as we continue our very enriching conversation with life coaches Kirsty Melmed and Anareen Rousseau, talking about taking a leap of faith in ourselves and making that transformative change you've been longing for, waiting for, and you're ready for.
Well, Kirsty, I'm going to start off with you. What words of encouragement do you have for people that have perhaps, tried to make a change, but they didn't succeed? That starting again is always a frustrating process, but it's also very demotivating when you have to go through it all again. How can we encourage those that feel like they've failed and they have to try again?
Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for getting it wrong, for letting yourself down, for maybe letting other people down. Forgive yourself.
Judgment. Yeah.
Exactly, that's self-judgment and shame, and that's what's keeping you in that dark place. So just forgive yourself and start with that first step today.
I love that. You say that so you're so practiced at saying that. I'm terrified, okay? My life is my construct. It's all that I control. It's the only thing that I have some semblance of control over. Now you're telling me I must change all of that. I'm terrified. The amount of fear that is involved in change, especially when it speaks to our fundamental self. How do we overcome that? How do we overcome or utilize the fear? Because it's there for a reason.
So now you've hit the nail on the head, right?
That's twice this morning I've done it. Come on.
The thing is there's success in failure.
Yeah.
If in the failure is the reason why we know what to do next and see the success. So when you're feeling paralyzed and you're stuck and you don't know what to do, actually look at that.
Embrace it, yeah.
Yeah, actually, why do I feel like such a failure? Do the forgiveness things, it's beautiful. And then look at the failure, because it's in the failure that you find the success.
The learnings, yeah, and you need that. And it's amazing. We have obviously the advantage of interviewing thousands of successful people. And I always ask them off camera, how do you view failure? And they'll always look at me with this quizzical. They don't even see it anymore. Yeah. Unless they are failing 3 or 4 times a day, they're not growing, learning, conquering what they need to. So it's amazing to take that on board. I love that.
Why do people feel like, oh, it's too late, I'm not even going to bother? Why do people tend to think that way?
So again, it's the voices of all the people around us telling us we can't do it, society's expectations and views, but also that's telling yourself, I can't do this, is like a self-sabotage, because actually a lot of us are scared of success. We're scared of achieving the things we want to achieve. And we think we're scared of failure, but it's not failure. We're scared of success.
That unknown.
Because if I have to be that person, it's so different from the person I am now. That's really scary. So I would look at that and say, is it me that's actually holding myself back? And how can I start to shift that in a narrative?
Yeah, I love that. Like, what about that end goal, that image on the vision board actually is real? Because a lot of that is maybe a notion that has been grown up or grown in you through society or your parents and. Yes. What do you actually, what is that ikigai? What is that calling? Can we marry those? Maybe you two are perfectly positioned to be able to answer this question because you've chosen to make your careers about this. And I would imagine there comes a time when you go to your parents as a life coach and they're like, what is that? Or what are you coaching them on? And you understand it, you get it because it's one-on-one. You get to see the difference you make in people's lives. How did you do it? What has been the big shift in your life, Anareen, for you finding your purpose? And maybe we're not all there yet, but what advice would you have for someone who's following in your path?
I concentrated more on the why I needed life to be in a certain way, opposed to the how.
I love that.
Because when I was in the how, I was stuck. How am I going to, be a life coach? How am I going to improve my life? It's like, oh, I don't know. But why? Changed the way I felt about it. It's like, why? I want to help people. I want to be out there. And it changed what I needed to do by concentrating on the why.
I love that because the why never goes away. You always know where you're going because you look down on the map, it's there. you feel it, you live it every single day.
Well, Anarine, Christy, thank you so much for joining us today and shedding some advice on how you at home can also tap into your why instead of your how, so that you can also, you know, have that approach of that it's never too late.